everyone. This is our second Ladies We Love interview, and today we have Anna Kloots. She is one of our regular contributors and ambassadors for We Are Travel Girls, and she's here with me in Bali. So we wanted to talk to her about her career and blogging and give you a bit of an insight into her blog today. So Anna, perhaps you want to introduce yourself and your blog and tell people what you write about.
Okay. My name's Anna. I'm from the United States. I grew up in Ohio, but I'm based in New York now. I do spend most of the year traveling. My blog is Travel Outside the Box, and that's because I travel in a very outside the box way. I'm usually traveling with my husband, who is a professional magician. And so when I started traveling, which I've been doing for like the last decade, it was always with locals in sort of like very unique experiences. I was never usually staying in hotels. It very much wasn't vacation.
Okay.
We would always be picked up by someone local, hanging out with someone local, taken to their favorite spot. So I was always in places, but seeing sort of a very different side of them than I would if I was just sort of booking a vacation and going there. And that always sort of gave me sort of insight into the culture. So that's usually what I write about is, you know, sort of my experience in those places. So it's about traveling, but in a little bit of an unusual way, in an unusual fashion.
Cool. I want to get on to then how you managed to do that or find those experiences. So if I forget, remind me. But I think that would be a good topic as well. But in terms of your blog, when did you start writing on your blog, and how did you transition to where you are today, where I know that you work with your husband, but you also run the blog as kind of your main now hobby business, and you're sort of progressing towards making it into your full-time business?
I always loved writing. It's something I've done forever. And when I started traveling, when I first moved abroad for school, I started a journal that I would write in every day, and then also a blog, which still exists. Out there somewhere.
Is that the Travel Outside the Box?
No, that's called the Blonde Parisian. I've had many blogs throughout the years because I genuinely love writing, and it started as a way to keep my friends and family just involved in what I was doing, and also just document it for myself because I wanted to be able to look back and remember everything. So when I was living in Paris, I kept a blog, and then I moved to London for work, and I kept a blog there. And that was the one that started to, like, as blogging became bigger, I started to like get some traffic. I was like, who are these people? Who's reading my blog in Sweden? Who's reading my blog in Australia? And so then that was when people were sort of like, you should make an actual proper blog that is for the public, that is, you know, a little bit more like informational. Like my other blogs are very just like my online diary. So don't go find them. Because
I'm going to be Googling that one tonight.
It was very much just like funny stories of like, this was my day today. So not very informational, but I guess you could sort of like look at it and pull information.
And some people do really well with blogs that are more like that, more personable and telling stories.
It's truly what I do prefer to write. So my blog is sort of a mix of, and my style of writing is a mix of like, I want to give you the facts so you can get the information that you need from the experiences I've had, but I also want to make it more than just, you know, something that you could read in Lonely Planet. Like if there isn't a bit of a personality on it, then, you know, it's not so much interesting to read. So I like.
So when did you get started on Travel Outside the Box? That was
2.5 years ago. It was right after I took a big trip to India and the Maldives, and like that was sort of like a first time that I did like a really fun, exciting, just like for our own trip. It was part of our honeymoon, and then after that we went to Thailand. So we were gone for a while traveling without work, and that's when I kind of was like, okay, maybe I need to start having a platform that is easily accessible for the public, that's a little bit more polished, and that I can start sending people to this website when they start contacting me for tips. A lot of people were contacting me for tips, and I was like daily writing these lengthy emails of like, here's what you should do in Paris. So I was like, I need to put this online and I can just direct people there.
And so if someone goes to your blog today, what types of things? You mentioned that they'll obviously find real experiences. What countries have you written about the most? So if someone wants to come to your blog, or is it completely varied? And
it's kind of varied. There isn't as much content on there as I would like. There's a lot up here, and I need to find the time. We all struggle with finding the time to like do all the things we need to do. So there's a lot that I still need to. I did a big load after Japan last year. There's a lot about Europe. That's sort of where I've traveled, I think, the most, or like seen the most of Europe as a continent. So there's a lot about Europe. And there's some just like fun stories that I've written. I love like a personal travel essay. That's sort of my favorite thing to read. And so I like writing that myself. It sort of gives you a little bit more insight into like what it would actually be like to visit this place rather than just the facts about it.
Okay, so for now, definitely go there if you're going to Japan, then you can find some information about Japan. And actually, some of the first articles that you wrote for We Are Travel Girls were about Japan, if I remember. I do remember one of yours in Harajuku Street. I remember seeing the photos of you walking. I think that was the first article you
I think it was. Yeah, I got back from Tokyo and I was like overwhelmed with the information. And Tokyo is really a place that, like, you know, some places you go and you can just sort of figure it out and you don't actually need tips. You can just stumble. Like, you're in Positano, like, you can just stumble down the street and find things. You don't need a where to go. That is not Tokyo. You know, Tokyo, you need some like recommendations of like, where do I go? What's the actual address? And you kind of need to have a better itinerary planned. So I think I definitely felt that there, and I had some really great resources from people I know who have lived in Tokyo that helped me plan my trip, and so I kind of wanted to put all of that in writing before I forgot it, so that other people had that resource, because you need it for Japan. You can't just wing it. You'll be lost and confused and hungry.
So definitely look at that. And that leads me on to, you recently became an ambassador for We Are Travel Girls, which is really exciting for us. So Anna had written a number of articles for us, and for those of you who are interested in becoming an ambassador, one of the things that we ask is for people to have written a number of articles for us, because there's potential that you would be representing We Are Travel Girls as an ambassador, and having examples of your work is kind of one of the most important things. So Anna had been writing for us for a while, and we're really excited that she came on board as an ambassador. And she recently just hosted the first New York City event.
It was so fun.
So how was that?
Oh, it was so fun. It's, you know, especially like to live in a big city where, you know, you meet friends on Instagram. There's so many people that I've like met one-on-one that we just have become friendly, familiar with each other's content, then been, oh, you're going to be here, I live there, or we're both going to be in the same place. But it was really fun to do the meetup because I met, you know, a dozen ladies who were all in my city, and they're based there, and it was such a nice group. We had a really lovely time. We were at the refinery rooftop, and they had wonderful frosé, and all these like beautiful frosé was so
we should
good.
have those now with us.
It was wonderful. It looked like a Frosty, but it was pink. It was great.
So it's rosé, frozen
with, it's usually like frozen with like some other alcohols are involved, and then like sugar.
Sounds good.
It's so good, so bad, but so good.
Well, as we continue this Ladies We Love series, the first one involved alcohol. Second one does not, which is a shame. I should have got some cocktails ready for this. Next time we'll do the We Are Travel Girls Frosé.
There we go.
It was all a bit last minute, but we will definitely include alcohol at the next one. So you mentioned about traveling outside the box and traveling in a way where you get to have unique experiences. And I think for some people that's quite hard to discover. How do I have that unique experience? So when you've gone there and traveled with a local, how have you been able to arrange that? Or is it more when you arrive, you just get to know people, or do you plan that in advance? And how would you recommend people to have more authentic experiences when they're traveling? How could they go about that?
I think, so the majority of mine initially came from, you know, we started traveling 10 years ago, initially. And there was a much smaller group of people that I could go to be like, hey, I'm going to be here. What should I do? What should I see? Have you lived there? Have you been there? But my husband, with his network of people, the magic world, is small and very tight-knit and all over the world. So he would always get to a country and there would be another magician there who was like, I live in Guatemala, can I pick you up from the airport? Can I take you to my house? Can I take you to my favorite, you know, town and show it to you? And we would always ask for those experiences as well. And make it very clear of like, if we're in Germany, we don't want to be taken to an American restaurant, and we don't want to go to something we could do in America, take us to the best place for schnitzel, but where you would go for schnitzel, not where you would think that someone else would want to go. That's hit or miss. Sometimes you're like, oh, okay, this isn't what I thought it would be. And then other times, more often, it's great. So him having that little community to dial into is sort of what helped us have that. But now I think with social media being so accessible, the whole world, and especially the community of We Are Travel Girls is amazing because it's big, it's huge. You can reach out and say, I really want to do something special and local when I'm in Bali. I don't want to do the usual tourist trek. Can I meet up with someone who's there? Can you give me your tips? Yeah. That usually leads to more wonderful experiences, in my opinion.
That's actually a good point for anyone who doesn't know. We have a Facebook group, which is a private female-only Facebook group. It's not enormous, which is kind of a good thing because our Instagram and our other social platforms and our blog has a lot of traffic. But the nice thing about the group is it's still relatively small, so you can ask questions, you can get advice, and it's not 500,000 people there and it gets buried and lost. So I feel like if you haven't found that, you can just find it on Facebook. It's facebook.com/group/wearetravelgirls. But that's a good place to ask if you're looking for kind of more local and authentic experiences. You might find them from some of the other travelers that are in that group.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's really cool. So thinking about going forward, what's your plans for this year? What trips do you have scheduled for the remainder of this year and perhaps into next year? What are your
The rest of the year is a bit crazy. I go from here to California and do a bit of a California road trip that ends in LA. And then I go home to regroup for 1 week and then fly to Venice. I pick up a cruise ship in Venice that goes to Croatia, Slovenia, which I've never been to, so I'm excited to go there. In Greece, and then ends in Italy. And then my husband and I are picking up a car in Italy and driving around Italy for the month.
And are you doing the cruise? Is this a work thing or is this with your
husband? The cruise is with my husband, but also for partially for his job. A place that he's associated with in LA called the Magic Castle has performers that go onto cruise ships, one particular line, a couple times a year. We can go on board and he has to do a couple shows, and then we get to just take the cruise.
Slovenia looks beautiful. The kayaking and some of the gorges and stuff.
I love going to places that are a little bit, still off the grid, or I was in Albania last year, and most people first would be like, "What is Albania?" or "Where is Albania?" So I really like seeing places like that.
Going to.
So we're excited to do that, and then we go to Romania after that, which is another one of I was like, "What do you even do in Romania?" So if any of you are from Romania, I would love your tips. And then we go to Sweden, and then we come home.
So you have a lot planned.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And then in terms of your kind of plans for your business and what you want to be doing more of, where do you want to take your blog to, and how do you envisage that over the next few years?
As I said, I love writing. So I have wanted to write a book for a long time. So that's sort of where I want to take it.
Yeah.
And I want to work on, actually laying out a book and trying to figure out if that's personal essay / travel guide, mixed together, because there's a lot of valuable information and tips buried in personal essays that you don't always realize are there. So I kind of want to blend those two together into a book. And
do you want that book to be about travel, or just life, or a fictional book, or a factual?
Memoir, personal essay, travel.
Awesome.
Sort of what always inspired me to travel was reading an amazing story, or watching when I was a kid, watching the Olsen twins and Passport to Paris, and I was like, I have to go there, and I want to ride in the back of some cute French boy's scooter. Exactly, I still want to do that.
We should do that next Travel Girls Getaway.
French scooter
trip.
With wine and cheese.
Obviously with wine and cheese. That would be a good trip.
Yeah, it would be great. So that I wanted to sort of be like that. You can read a short, wonderful story set in somewhere that is, something I've experienced, and then there's the facts to go there and have your own story.
Oh, that sounds good.
That's what I want to do.
And what's on your bucket list? What's your big experience, or do you have, or have you already done your big bucket list items? Is there something you really want to do?
I got to do Petra in May, and that was top of the bucket list. Yeah. So that I was and it was just even more wonderful than I thought it would be. but Chile is very high on my bucket list. I'm going to go in February.
Oh, okay.
The one I have no plans to go to yet, but I'm dying to go to is Egypt. I want to do a Nile cruise. I want to see the pyramids. I love history, so like I love any trip I can go to where there's somewhere that like you're like, this is unfathomably old and interesting, and there's a story. It's like I love a mix of a place that's beautiful and stunning, but then also is like
Some history.
I love learning about that before I go, and then that makes it more meaningful. So pyramids is pretty high up there, but
it's a good trip. I did that when I was 17, I think. Nile cruise. It was great.
So cool.
Yeah, it was really, really good, but that was a long time ago. So I could do
do
that
it
again. I'm gonna have to roll. I have to roll back all of my trips I did when I was young.
I feel like that about a lot of the places I saw. I'm like, I went at 20 and I have no photos because I was taking them with my iPhone 2.
Same.
And it, I don't even.
I don't think we had iPhones when I was 20. So
No.
that was not. I had like a camera with what do you call it? Film camera.
Yeah.
I was literally running around with a film camera. So those were all up in my mother's loft, I think. All my like backpacking photos and things. So
some trips you have to redo.
Digging those out. You mentioned Petra and Jordan. Would you have any tips, since that was one that you said was a great trip for people thinking of visiting?
Yes. I am almost done with a
some
blog
tips
post that I will contribute to you soon that will be all about Petra. I would say my top tip would be go now, because it is picking up steam. It's getting more popular, and what I loved about it was that it really didn't feel touristy yet. Like it felt very authentic. It felt like when you visit Petra, you have to wind through this seek in the canyon, like just like Indiana Jones, like you're walking forever. So when you actually get to the clearing there, like you're just in the middle of this amazing clearing, this historic preserved site, and there isn't like tourist shop here, tourist shop there, souvenirs, someone trying to like sell you junk. Like it felt very real, and I, like all things, it doesn't last special like that once crowds start coming and things change. So I would say go now and definitely go, because it's affordable to go, it's beautiful, and it's such a special place that it's
been on my list for a really long time. But one of my cousins is called Petra, so I've always
have to go with her.
Yeah, she has in her bathroom. She's actually a travel journalist. She used to work for the Travel Channel, and then so she's traveled all over the world. So I've always admired her, like seeing all of her travels. But in her bathroom, she has a big picture, and it's all newspaper cuttings of Petra and photos from her first
she has
trip.
to go.
So I always, every time you go there and you go in the bathroom, you're like, oh, Petra. So on the never-ending bucket list.
No, it's a great one, and it's really like, I would say, I'm sure everyone's bucket list, like mine is huge, but like move it up the priority level.
Put it up the top.
Because some places are never gonna go away, and other places are actively changing every single day, and the experience is getting less and less authentic, and I'm sure it will happen there. So go while it still is like.
Well, it's somewhere we're looking at as well for getaways, actually. We didn't discuss that, but that's another place that we're interested in doing a travel girls getaway.
And there's a lot. There's a lot to do there.
So if we could part on any tips for travelers and people that are watching this, or anything that you think is anything about travel or blogging or life. Just, I don't know. To put you on the spot.
Okay, on the spot, I would say my top tip would be, when you're traveling, there's a fine balance of planning versus and being concerned about every moment being wonderful versus just living it and enjoying the trip and the experience. And I think the more and more we see people in a cafe where the coffee art is perfect and the tiles are really cool, and you're like tempted to go seek that out, I think my top tip is to not be too concerned about hitting all these spots or having these perfect moments and spending your whole trip hunting them down, and to actually just be present where you are and enjoy the place you are, and just wander and find your own amazing tiles, because you're gonna find them. They're everywhere. You don't need to track down that specific one. Like, make your own moments, have your own journey. Don't be so concerned with hunting down everything you've seen online. Just enjoy where you are and have your own experience, and like that's what makes it authentic and wonderful and special, and you won't be buried in your phone the whole time trying to
really
track down things and recreate moments that you want. Like, go make your own.
I think that's a really, really great tip, and it's something that is close to my heart, as you know, as well. I feel the same, and I think that way you find the places that other people haven't found yet, and you feel like, oh, I found it before other people did. And actually, if you're just going and following Instagram and trying to do that, you do miss out on some gems that might just be around the corner. And that you were going to this specific cafe, and who knows, that one could have been a lot better that you just walked straight past.
And it's also more fun to discover something you haven't seen a million photos of, because then you're like, look at this cute place, or like, look at this amazing view. When you've seen so many photos of one thing already, you're kind of like, you already know what it is, and you get there and you're like, yeah, I've seen this. And so find your own.
We can take you, I should take you on a last parting thing in Bali. Is around the corner from my house where we are now, we found a place which is a little churros shop. And from the front, it looks kind of pretty. It says churros, but it looks kind of pretty. And never realized. We walked around the back, huge rice terrace, a whole big space, the best like gin and tonic cocktails and other things, churros, and all this other stuff. And it's all pink and pretty. And I was like, wow, this is not on Instagram, so no one knows about it. And I was like, it's right around the corner from my house. There's no one here. It's great. So it does show you find.
So we have to go.
So that's where we'll leave you.
So we're done.
We're done now. We're going to go and do churros. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much, Anna, for taking part in our Ladies We Love interview series. We're going to be trying to do more of these with more women from around the world as they come to Bali or we go to where they are. But thank you so much.
You're welcome. And everyone contribute to the site, because it is awesome. And when you give information, then I feel like everything you give comes back to you. And I use the site before I contributed for so much to find tips and find information and build a community. And so contribute, because that's how we're all learning from each other.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.